Amazing, amazing. One thing in what you were just saying there was talking about the fear and having to jump into it wholeheartedly. What are your thoughts about people having a fear of success?
I think I have that, or had that, even though that's what you overtly want. I think inside there's a fear that you'll get what you want, and you won't know what to do with it. And it's going to change your life in ways that you may or may not think you want. And so subconsciously, I think I was sabotaging myself in many different ways. And I think many of us do that. Nobody probably would admit to a fear of success overtly, because you don't typically think of that as something that you would be fearful of. But there are changes that happen. When you're successful, perhaps you have to travel more, and perhaps you like being a homebody, and you're afraid of that, and so you push it away, and you find yourself, I found myself sabotaging myself my whole life as I look back and reflect, in ways that I wouldn't have guessed, and I certainly didn't see as sabotage at the time. So I think it is something that we all have to deal with, but I don't think fear is bad. What I've decided is that one of the things that I did, I've been doing art all my life, but it's always been for the giveaway. And I was carving stone, a very sacred stone for Native Americans called Catlinite. And I was mixing two not spiritual practices. One was the Kabbalah, which kind of brought me back to my Jewish roots, only very differently. It's not a religious dogma at all. It was pure ancient wisdoms. And then there was the Native American side of it. And I decided to blend them. Again, that's a long story I could tell you someday. But I decided to, what happened was I started doing something very unique. I started carving the Hebrew letters, which are sacred, a part of the sacred alphabet. There are several sacred alphabets. The Hebrew letters are one of them. And they have, the way the Kabbalah looks at the Hebrew letters is each of them has sort of a, an attribute of, and an energy of creation. And what I would do is I would carve the Hebrew letters out of the Catlinite. So it was sacred stones, sacred letters, with specific energies of creation. And I would give them away to the various people. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. What we were looking to get from you was the fear of success, and really how do we start to overcome it if we are, we're self-sabotaging ourselves. We're on our way to our goal. We're on our way to our greatness. But there's something in us which we've now come to realize is fear of success. And fear of success is a lot more prevalent than most people think. But how do we get over that? How do we change that fear of success and eliminate it and truly subconsciously start pushing towards our goal as well as consciously?
Right. I remember now where I was going. I was doing a piece for somebody, and the piece was about courage. And I really didn't know what courage meant. I think of it in terms of, well, courage is a lack of fear. Courage is, somebody who just does something instinctively, and that's something that I don't know that I have. I don't know you don't know that you have courage until you're faced with a particular situation. Mm-hmm. But what happens to me when I'm doing the carving is it's kind of a meditative state that I get into, and I lose myself. But what happens is the meaning of the word comes to me. And the meaning of the word courage came to me, and it was not a lack of fear. It was having a fear, but doing it anyway, and just making that decision. I've since seen that expressed in many different other ways as well. But that was very comforting to find out. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to let the fear stop you from going in a direction that you want. It's okay for a little while, obviously, until you get to a place where you're able and ready to go there. But what I found is that, for me, the hardest thing that I'm still working on, I'm by no means where I want to be in my life as far as spiritual awareness, as far as my behaviors and how I go about doing things. But what I find for me is that I recognize the fear, I accept it as part of who I am, and I just keep doing what I'm doing anyway. And I know that still hurts me because I do understand And I'm now not just a believer, but I have a knowing that the way you manifest things is not necessarily to have your subconscious continue to stay in fear, because that works against you, and that's part of the self-sabotage. But basically to be, who you are or what you want to be, and allow that to come to you, and then receive that. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm hoping to get there before the book gets too far, so that it can manifest the way my dream is. And I'm seeing it happen. And I'm also watching my fear start to abate as we're speaking. It's starting to move away from me. So I think the best thing that I can answer for you is acceptance. Acceptance and then forgiveness. And those two things for me, I wasn't looking at that as accepting that part of me. I thought there was something wrong with me. And at the same time, I was holding that against me. I was feeling guilty. I was feeling all kinds of ridiculous feelings. At the same time, they were real for me. Once I decided to accept, and once I decided to forgive myself for having those feelings and say, it's okay, I'm watching it fall away from me. And I'm doing work as well. So I'm not saying that it just falls away from you and it happens overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens. And I'm watching it happen as we speak. So acceptance and forgiveness are, to me, the two things.